This episode is brought to you by ARX. You want to be a successful strength training studio owner. The problem is you aren't able to deliver the safest, most efficient and effective workouts, making it harder for you to attract and retain clients, which makes you feel frustrated. I understand that it can be difficult to differentiate your business without the right tools. ARX's breakthrough adaptive resistance technology uses patented motorized resistance and computer software to give you and your clients the perfect workout every single time. BioFit founder John Zarbok says that ARX is clearly the superior tool to deliver the exercise stimulus. My clients are seeing insane improvements in weeks, not months. I could not fathom running my business without ARX. So here's how you get started. Number one, go to arxfit.com/HOB to get $500 off your ARX machines. Number two, book a call with the ARX sales team. And number three, learn how ARX can help you grow your strength training business. Go to arxfit.com/HOB so you can stop struggling to attract and retain clients and start to grow your strength training business with confidence. Lawrence Snell here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, a podcast where we discuss high intensity strength training and provide you with the tools, the tactics, and the strategies to grow your strength training business. This is episode 375, and today's topic is how to set up new personal trainer hires for success in your business. Today's guest is founder and CEO of Strength Portal, Matt McGonigal. Strength Portal is a software platform for multi-location gyms to manage their personal training staff and track personal training services. Matt, welcome back to the podcast. Good to see you again.
Thank you so much for having me, Lawrence. I appreciate it.
You are most welcome. I'm excited to get into this topic today. So you sent me a note, essentially really outlining the problem, which we're going to be, talking about today, and talking about some solutions and tactics to address it. And what you said was, big issue you see in the industry is the average career of personal trainers being less than typically 3 years, and how you feel that's a direct result of the business system setup for new career paths, and the type of situations that these personal trainers are thrown into, not being very well prepared or supported, I guess. So do you want to just elaborate on this problem and your experience talking to, because you got a great position on this because you're engaging with all these different types of fitness businesses. You can give us quite a good perspective on this.
Yeah. So I think probably the best place to start is that where this mostly comes from is that I think the career of choosing to be a personal trainer is one of the most impressive and probably impactful types of careers that you can choose. Personal trainers have the ability to improve the quality of people's lives, help them, strengthen their bodies for the long term, and potentially even live longer. And something like that's really what motivates a lot of people to come into the industry. And to me, when I first started to engage with fitness businesses, learn from personal trainers, and found out that the average personal training career was less than 3 years, that really shocked me. It's something that, has kind of stuck with me for years. And I've done a lot of thinking and research on this topic. To me, it's a real shame is that all these people come into the industry, they're super motivated to help people. It's a passion-driven motivation to get into this career path. And unfortunately, I think at a high level, when you really break it down, most people are not set up for success to have a long-term career beyond 5, 10, 15, 25 years. So the outcome that I'm really kind of driving for with our business when we work with our customers, but also just, talking with other people in the space about how we can improve the industry overall, is that I would love to see personal trainers that have been in the industry for 25 to 30 years become the standard. Obviously a long way to go to get there, but I do think it's completely possible to do with some adjustments. So
I agree. So let's talk about, what do you think are all the different reasons that cause a trainer to leave within 3 years? What are all the factors that come to mind for you?
Yeah, so this could lead to me just talking for 30 minutes straight, but I'll do my best to try to pause every now and then. So I think, probably the best thing to look at here is like, let's look at what maybe the average journey looks like for a personal trainer that's just entering the industry. And when I talk through these examples, I tend to kind of focus on gym chains or an enterprise focus. But the main reason for that is that, it is kind of a typical path. And I think that there's a lot of lessons that personal training studio owners can take away from seeing what that journey looks like. So what I typically see is, let's just say someone gets inspired to become a personal trainer. They go through a personal training certification on their own, usually spend like some money out of their own pockets, a few $1,000, something like that. And then they're going to be hired by a large big box gym chain. There's numerous, whatever comes to mind, that's typically where they're going in. So the way that these big box gym chains typically do hiring, at least in the US, from what I've seen, is that they hire new trainers in batches. So new trainers come in for anywhere from like maybe 6 to 12 trainers at a time. And these gym chains know that they're going to get so much churn with these personal trainers that they do this batch hiring almost quarterly. So if I'm a new personal trainer, I'm coming in, I'm starting to go through their education, I'm getting thrown into the fire. Typically what those first few months look like and where the first drop-off point is that these personal trainers don't necessarily have any clients yet. They're on the floor, they're doing their educational, reading through the educational materials, and they're typically getting paid close to minimum wage. So right from the start, if you look for like, hey, if I'm a business and am I hiring someone and trying to set them up for success, am I really investing into this individual? To me, that at the right point, the very starting point, doesn't really seem like, a great opportunity for anyone to succeed. So what it really comes down to is like it's survival of the fittest, who has enough money or resources or is kind of desperate enough to get through that first 3 months where they get to the point where they can actually start to convert some clients and then build up a client base where they actually start hitting bonuses that can then lead to a sustainable, maybe mid-tier yearly income. So yeah, I don't know if you have any experience with that, Lawrence, with yourself or other conversations with people in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, mostly, I guess a little bit of personal experience, but mostly through conversations in the industry. Yeah, I think that is a problem. That the trainer comes on board with potentially very few clients. Now, I think the issue though is actually that we expect the trainer to sell, and it's quite clear in terms of surveys and things like that. And I think there's data to support this, that trainers don't like and typically aren't very good at selling.
Yeah.
And we've just made the assumption that that's what they've always done. That's what they'll do. And that's how they'll grow their client base. But it's smarter to probably designate sales to those people in your staff who have those skills, right? And can focus on that, and then provide those people with clients. So I think that's one of the remedies to this problem, is by actually identifying, I guess, your sales process, how you convert clients, and having the right members of your staff focused on that. And it doesn't have to be just trainers. It could be typically it's going to be the business owner, because they're typically going to have some sales skills, right? And then a select few trainers, and then maybe someone who's just focused on sales and marketing or something like that, and knows how to deliver the sales process, the free workout, consultation, whatever it is. And I guess through doing that, it's difficult, right? Because when you bring a new trainer on, typically they're not going to have a full schedule right away. It's a bit of a chicken and the egg scenario, isn't it? Because if they did, then that means you would have had, prior to them coming on, you'd have had a ton of unserved clients who are just not being served, right? Or it's just so I guess it comes down to also it's almost unavoidable what you're saying in terms of that initial period where you are going to have to true up their income to a minimum wage level, right? I think with the next part of this conversation, what I would come on to is how they're compensated. And it seems to me the best way, at least in our space, in our particular niche, is to pay a percentage of session versus a flat salary. And the cool thing is in our market is we're able to charge a pretty high fee for personal training. We're typically working with busy, affluent professionals who can afford that. And we're typically doing 30-minute sessions. And that means we typically have, I'm using the word typically a lot here, a 2x advantage over a lot of other personal training businesses. Because if you're charging $60 a session and you're doing 2 an hour, 120, and you're paying the trainer 30% or 25%, they're going to earn really well. And they're actually going to earn. This is why I think that, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think that our niche within fitness is so great in terms of not only delivering great results for clients, but also really tackling this aspect of building a sustainable career for a personal trainer. If you follow that kind of model, you can actually compensate them very well from the get-go. And there is going to be that, sorry, I know I'm going on one now, but there is going to be that period in the start where you might have to true up their income for it to be above minimum wage whilst you're kind of recruiting clients on their behalf. But yeah, I think it might be a mistake to assume that a trainer's going to come on board and sell and bring on new clients, because I think you're very fortunate if you have a trainer who comes on board with both the skill set to want to be a master of their craft as a personal trainer, and also the skill and interest to be good at sales. It's two very different things. So
yeah, no, I'm so happy you kind of shared that example, because it leads to a few different paths for me to go into. So the first thing to probably start off is I think it's a perfect jumping off point, is that most people, it takes time to learn these skills. And you can't, as a business, expect everyone to just be 100%, they have skill sets across the board that are going to lead to them to be a successful personal trainer. My wife, is a great example. When she went to school for journalism, PR, she wanted to get into kinesiology, but for our college, you couldn't shift majors after you made the choice at the very beginning. So she was locked in. After college, she had a passion. She wanted to get into the industry, got a personal training certification, got hired at a big box gym. And naturally, 3, 6, 12 months, there's an evolution of her skills. They're continually improving over time. Really struggled for the first 3 to 6 months, had to learn how to sell, getting more comfortable with her training. And it could have been really easy for her to drop off. But let's talk about, where she ended up, after a few years, was month after month, she got the award at her gym for having the highest quality retention for all of her clients, which to me is the single most important type of metric that you can have, is if your clients stay with you and come in over and over again. And that was your direct result of her personality, her empathy, her EQ is off the charts, God level tier. And, that's why she wasn't the type of personal trainer that bodybuilding, fitness model, anything flashy, but people would come up to her at the gym, were very comfortable being able to talk with her, and instantly were able to see that, her empathy and her level of caring made it so they were comfortable being able to work with her. And she was able to convert clients that had never worked with personal training before. So when I'm a business and I look at the different type of personal trainers that I want to hire, and if I want to try to set them up for success, you have to be able to create a system that allows for people to have different ramp up times. Whether someone's able to ramp up month 1 or month 2, maybe a certain style of person or skill set is going to be able to do that. But you're missing out on these other skill sets, or people maybe have a slower ramp up time where they're developing their other skill sets and become more rounded out. Maybe it takes them month 3, 4, 5, or 6. So I love the example that you brought up for personal training studios, because my first exposure at scale for personal trainers getting hired and onboarding was mostly big box gym chains, and seeing this kind of churn and burn. And just as you were saying, they're not really set up for success. Months 1 through 3, they're making minimum wage. They start to convert a few clients. They're learning how to sell. And it takes probably 6 months to start to get anything sustainable. And the reason for that is that there isn't a path for them to easily start training right away and to integrate and start to getting a percentage of this personal training packages. Because they do one-on-one private training, and a personal trainer is responsible for building their own client roster. And then when they have that client roster, they don't share. It's not a collaborative training model. The only reason they would share a client is maybe if they're out sick or if they're going on vacation and they share the client with someone else, but they fully expect to get that client back because that's their personal training package that they've sold, their sessions they're going to be able to track and complete and get the percentage from. But in personal training studios, and what I've been getting more familiar with businesses like yours or Discover Strength, or other.
I love how you compare us both in the same category.
It's a very similar business model. Is that what
it's a little bit more mature than ours?
Well, like, hey, it's a similar business model, and like there's always like Discover Strength's been around for so long, right? It's
that's it. That's our excuse. Yeah, that's it.
You're on your path. So the thing that these personal training studios business have is an easy way to integrate their new hires into the personal training sessions right away and start to be able to make a higher income right from the start. Yeah. Because they have an open training model. They're selling one-on-one or semi-private, but it's not necessarily that you're tied to a single personal trainer 100% of the time. For our system, actually within Strength Portal, this is something that we learned is that we had that architecture that supported, I'm a personal trainer and I work with my clients and I don't necessarily share them and I have my client list. But when we started working with personal training studios is we figured out, you can work with any client at any time. So we had to update our architecture. Now we have two models, which we call Classic, which is Gym Chain, and then Open, which is personal training studio, which means that any personal trainer can view every single client and they can also track every single personal training program without any permission blockers. So that's, a little aside, but the reason that it's really helpful for onboarding as you're getting to that, these personal trainers can start to get experience. They can make better money right from the start because there's a smooth path for them to be able to work with clients, gain that experience. And there's no friction, I guess, compared to the path that most personal trainers go into to get exposed for their first 3 years in the industry at a big box gym chain.
Yeah. I mean, I was just, while you were doing that, I was just bringing up, our key roles for personal trainers at Optima Strength. And, they don't have a sales responsibility. We have 5 key roles, and hat tip to Discover Strength for most of the inspiration behind this. But this is really based on EOS or Traction, which is a whole framework for running and growing businesses. Our key roles are: number 1, deliver world-class workouts, and they are ordered in this way deliberately. Number 2, retain clients. Number 3, knowledge of evidence-based strength training. Number 4, optimize the schedule, meaning, optimize your schedule, fill it with as many sessions as you possibly can, get clients to use their rolled sessions that they missed. And the last one is generate referrals, which is obviously different to sales because you're not necessarily taking that referral and putting them through a free workout. You're just providing an incredible workout and customer experience such that the person feels compelled to give you a referral. And then we have a few little processes for generating referrals in terms of, questions we ask and stuff like that. But we have the sales trainer role is separate, right? So, for instance, our trainer, Nigel, happens to be a great trainer and also a great salesperson. So he has both roles. He's a sales trainer role and a personal trainer role. And as a sales trainer, it's he has all the roles of a personal trainer, but then he has the role of converting free workouts, but not generating leads. Again, it's just being really clear about the demarc there, I think it probably is it's crazy to think, but it's probably a big issue is this heavy reliance on people that don't want to sell and aren't good at it. Being
or they're
being
not
expected.
even confident in their skill sets yet. They don't believe it themselves yet. So
and you're right. Yeah, maybe there's a middle ground here where you can potentially coach some trainers up. You have your whole team up to be able to sell, but I'm not sure if that's as efficient as this way of doing it. So focusing on a designated team. What was I going to say? Oh, and the other thing I wanted to mention on this actually is I like the idea of by not focusing on sales, it liberates the trainer to really focus on what they're passionate about, right? Which is becoming a master at the craft. I couldn't think of anything more stressful than having to learn all these sales and marketing and business skills and selling. And really, you should just be getting so good they can't ignore you, right? Like just becoming rare and valuable in your ability to deliver incredible personal training, right? And it's a shame that I think a lot of, I mean, I see it in fact in a lot of one-man company personal trainers. I see them so focused on the marketing and the sales. I get it; they're desperate to get clients, but it's like you want to try and sort of redirect all the energy in just the craft, right? So
yeah, you need the balance of the two, and I think like once you've kind of gained that experience and the confidence, like obviously the sales become easier, right? And to me, it's really about, hey, if you can get past that first 3 to 6 months, get the confidence, get the experience, everything is going to get much, much easier for the trainer, for the clients to be able to convert and stay with those trainers, and for the business overall by extension. So,
So what do you think are the other problems that are causing this trainer churn? Because there's other stuff too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe like one quick note just to touch on as like the last piece on those first 3 to 6 months is that I think it's really helpful for personal training studios to know that for these large big box gym chains, how big of a problem it really is for that churn. You have to remember that these gym chains are investing literally millions of dollars into their personal trainers' education. But they're still losing, let's just say 80 to 90% of the hires that they're going through. So to me, I think that's an incredible waste of resources. And it's why, while personal training studios, provide such a nice potential alternative career path. And that's something that could be really emphasized through the hiring or the outreach process for trying to hire new personal trainers. It's just right from the start. It's hey, we're going to be able to set you up for success. So the next area I kind of wanted to lead to is other problems that continue to kind of lead to this huge or this very low average career for personal trainers. Let's say a personal trainer does get past 6 months. In a big box gym chain, they start to convert clients. Maybe they build up 8, 10, 12 or more clients. Typically, they're doing one-on-one private training. And the way that their lives are essentially start to become structured is that they have their clients, they schedule their clients throughout the week, and then they have morning sessions and end of day sessions. So I'm a personal trainer. For months I've been getting paid close to minimum wage. I start to build up my income a little bit. And then I have a day where I work, maybe 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. I have this gap during the beginning of the day. And then I start to work with clients from maybe 4 to 8, and I do the whole thing over again. And it is an insane lifestyle to me. And, there's
paid
so
nothing
many,
and working crazy shifts.
it's just and that's the next drop off point for these personal trainers for across the industry is they start to realize oh, wow, is this lifestyle even sustainable? Is this really what I signed up for? Am I passionate enough to be able to keep on doing this for a long period of time? And a lot of people say no, and it's really unfortunate. And that's just an extension of, the system that's been set up for them. Right. So, think about the different challenges they could have throughout the week. It's so let's say one client doesn't come in because they're traveling for a summer, or maybe someone gets sick, or maybe they're a parent and, their kid, something comes up with their kids, it's just so many possibilities that could lead to time slots opening up. And then very quickly, those personal trainers, the ability to predict how much they're going to make each month and to get their bonuses at the end of the month for how many sessions they completed overall starts to quickly drop off. You could have months where maybe you make 60% of what you thought you were going to make. Some months you're going to make 100%, but it's a fluctuation, and it's just very, very hard to live a lifestyle off of that. So for us, when we think about big box gym chains, they're very tied to one-on-one personal training because that was really kind of the first successful training model that they were able to monetize, starting from like the 90s, going all the way till today. Some of the gyms that we work with, like they're very, very successful one-on-one private training. They offer group personal training mostly as just kind of like a fun retention thing, but they don't make any money off of that. But they're really kind of stuck with this one-on-one private training, which obviously is wonderful for the client. But eventually what you start to run into is that not only is it difficult for the personal trainer to really build a sustainable business with it, but it's also difficult for the gym members to be able to continue to use one-on-one private training for a long period of time. No matter who you are, if you're the most well-off person in the world, after 3 to 6 months, it's going to be, most people are going to look at a cost like that and be like, oh, wow, like, am I able to kind of sustain this? Because those big box gym chains, not only is the personal training that they're paying for, they're paying for the educational services, they're paying for all the other
parts, like a membership as well.
Margin. Just all the money that needs to go to the gym, like the margin on top of the personal training's like payout, it's a very high number, especially when you compare it to personal training studio. Is oftentimes like you are able to have a high price point for you, but you have a much, like, your margin that to run everything else of the business is much, much lower. So you're able to kind of maximize what goes to the personal trainer themselves. So when I look at that, is that at a high level for the industry, kind of across the board for fitness businesses, we think that one-on-one private training is the ultimate service that a personal trainer can give, right? You're getting my attention for 30 to 60 minutes. I'm 100% focused on you. But to me, it's not setting anyone up for success in the long term. From a customer journey standpoint, it doesn't have the flexibility that I need from a cost standpoint, or doesn't have the flexibility that, I maybe need with my life. So most personal training businesses don't have a option for these clients to convert to. So to me, what that means, if they can't convert to like a more cost-effective training service model, they're just expecting a client to churn eventually, which makes a personal trainer have to go get more clients. And then they're continuing to go down that, like, spinning the hamster wheel, just doing the same thing over and over, just trying so hard just to keep their client roster and their client sessions predictable and to hit a certain income. And no one really wins in that process. So that's the next wall where I see a lot of personal trainers, after 2 to 3 years of doing this, they just burn out. And maybe they go to another industry and they never come back. And that's a real shame to me. So.
This episode is brought to you by ARX. These are the most intense exercise machines I've ever used. I remember how fast a pull-down exercise took me to muscular failure and beyond. On the final negative or eccentric excursion, my tank was practically empty, but the adaptive resistance enabled me to continue to perform work until the predetermined end of the set. This experience was very profound and made me realize how effective ARX is in helping clients reach a high level of intensity in their workouts and ultimately produce the best results. I also love how ARX measures and tracks range of motion, rep cadence, total output and time, and more with real-time audio and visual feedback. These features are powerful sales and retention tools to help you convert and keep more clients. As a listener of the High Intensity Business podcast, ARX is offering you $500 off your machines. Just go to arxfit.com/HIB to book a call with the ARX sales team to learn how ARX can revolutionize and grow your fitness business. Again, go to arxfit.com/HIB, and now back to the episode. Yeah. And for everyone listening, I know we're really kind of agitating the problems right now, but we're really trying to set this podcast up in that way. Is there any more you want to add to this in terms of the issues you see, or should we move on to talking about some of the solutions of some of this stuff? I know we have already hinted at the solutions for how you get around sales, but is there any other big blockers or issues that you see as causing this?
No, I think that's probably the next best place to transition to the potential solutions. So
Yep.
let's talk about like maybe what's happening currently in the industry, right? Is, maybe you're a personal trainer that you're very successful in like a big box gym chain. You've kind of moved all your clients to maybe one time block. You're like front loaded in the day with your clients, or maybe you're back loaded, and like that might be sustainable to you. But maybe you just kind of cap out on an income level, but you're okay with that. So we do see personal trainers kind of live a lifestyle like that. And if that's your life and you're comfortable with that, good on you. No complaints. But we do see a lot of personal trainers especially over the last few years, which has been accented by the pandemic, is they're leaving these big box gym chains and they're going out on their own. And they're either renting spots at a personal training studio and running their own business, maybe doing a combination of in-person, online, or they're moving to a more sustainable business model, such as a personal training studio, where maybe they don't have to worry about other parts of it with the selling, or maybe they have a collaborative, more team approach to actually working together with their clients to help them show up, make the right amount of income for us to make it sustainable and help their clients reach their goals. So that is something that we're definitely seeing a big shift with. And there's a few possible different flavors for that. But I think when you really kind of start to break that down, and I think what's going to be most impactful for us to kind of talk through for the rest of the podcast would be, what are the business models and the training services that best fit any type of fitness business, whether it's big box or a personal training studio, to make that sustainable career for the personal trainer from the start to the finish. So,
yeah. I mean, let me just make a couple points, but then I'll definitely hand over to you to elaborate on that. Discover Strength do a wonderful job at this, and if people want to see how they make a personal trainer career, I mean, there's tons of podcasts on High Intensity Business about that with Luke. But if you just go to their careers page, they're very explicit about the career at Discover Strength for a personal trainer. Luke's explained to me about how they're always they won't just sugarcoat everything. They'll be very brutally honest about the good and bad. Although none of it is dressed up badly, but you know what I mean? It's just saying this is the reality of what it is being a personal trainer here. But the way they get around burnout is that they ensure that the trainer has a good work-life balance. They're not expected to work more than 40 hours a week. They can work more if they want to generate more income, and that's fine, but it's optional. And the way they manage the split shifts is that people aren't going to be doing 2 split shifts back to back on the same day. And the reason why that's sustainable is because of the earnings per unit of time, because they're charging, appropriately for personal training, and the sessions are 30 minutes. That's a huge factor. And the small group training they do is, going back to what you were saying there, is even more profitable per hour because of the way that's priced. And it's still more affordable for the customer. So that's a win-win actually for the trainer as well. It means that the trainer can work a very reasonable work week and still earn really good money, relatively speaking. That, I think, that is the solution here. Like at least for the boutique personal training business. I don't know how that scales beyond that. But that's something that I thought was really important to talk about. But yeah, if you go to discoverstrength.com and look at the careers page, they do a great job of showing you how to create a career destination for a trainer that's sustainable. And not only that, but just thrilling, makes you want to be a part of it. It's really well done there. So, and I think one other point you said, which really got me thinking, as a great pitch for Strength Portal, is what you said there about the massive investment that goes into trainer recruitment and how like 80% of that is lost from trainer churn. It's like, well, if you can point at that when you're pitching Strength Portal in terms of how the onboarding, the content curation, the workout standardization, how that's going to bring that percentage right down. I know you've obviously already thought about that, Matt, but I just thought I'd share that.
It's funny. So our largest gym chain that we work with is 100 locations, really high end, kind of luxury gym chain. They actually categorize us as an educational software internally. And so like we were within their like personal training education budget bucket. So yeah, no, it's 100% spot on. So
Perfect. Awesome. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Where are we going
yeah,
from here? You're going on
so
to business models and systems. Yep.
yeah, so like I think, and we interact in. I'm going to break this down into three different segments, right? So you have independent personal trainers, like maybe running a business on their own, and I would just call this like solo trainers. Then you have personal training studios, and then you have large like multi-location gym chains, maybe your classic big box. So I'll probably start with the three different paths or like the three different solutions that I see long term for each customer segment, or sorry, the one solution for each customer segment. So for big box gym chains, to me, you have one-on-one private training. And we know like we've just kind of touched on like all the potential issues, like with like where that leads to for gym member, trainer, and client is just not sustainable and doesn't reach a high a level of income. So what's going to happen?
One challenge of that though, Matt, I would say is
Yeah.
I've seen lots of examples of people that are sustaining one-on-one personal training in terms of financially, especially with the boutique personal training businesses for years. So are you talking
Yes.
specifically with the larger big box
Specific,
because of
yeah, no, yeah.
the additional fees?
The,
Yeah, right. Got it.
yes, exactly. Yeah. Specific to the big box. I think one-on-one private training is definitely sustainable in other
I
types
see.
of business models. But for the big box, because the cost is so high, it's just not really sustainable for anyone. So what's going to happen there is that if I'm a big box gym chain, I can't offer the other cost-effective option is I can't do semi-private. Like I just can't do it because I don't have the floor space or the ability to schedule or lock off to be able to convert from one-on-one to semi-private. So I'm a trainer. I can't work with 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 clients at one time. Very few gym floors at that level are set up to be able to have a space for something like that. I have seen like one or two, but usually it's incredibly rare. So what are my options? And what's actually happening across the board is that there's a very slow movement towards adding hybrid or online training for big box gym chains. And it's going to become the standard over the next few years. So that if you have a more cost effective option for the gym member, where I can just sell you a program, or if you can do a combination of receiving a program and doing the in person with the hybrid training, that actually is going to be sustainable for a client to keep on working with the trainer over a longer period of time. And the one kind of like little bonus tip that we add to that is that the biggest issue that a lot of businesses talk about when they're scared of adding this new model, new training service to their model is that they're worried that it's going to cut into their one-on-one private training revenue overall. And that's a very serious like possibility that you need to plan for. And to me, the solution, whether you're a big box gym chain or any type of trainer, is that you just have to have a clear flow and have a process to be able to kind of filter or have clients earn the more cost-effective option. So for us, what we typically recommend for our customers is that one-on-one private training is, your moneymaker and you want to protect that at all cost. But for the long-term revenue opportunity for your business, you should do one-on-one private training as the standard to start with everyone, work with the trainer for 3 to 6 months. And then there's the possibility if you reach certain benchmarks with like your comfortability to work out on your own and receive a workout program, know how to perform the exercises, et cetera, then you can be converted to a hybrid training model where maybe instead of meeting with me 3 days a week or 2 days a week, you can meet with me 1 day every 2 weeks, but you get the program to do on your own. So the gym member still has a relationship with the trainer. They can still ask questions. And the trainer, but it's going to be more cost effective for the member so they can do it for a longer period of time. And then they're more likely to hit their goals. So from a trainer perspective, now I've retained that client. I have a new time. I'm still making that income. I have a new time slot so I can add in a new client, potentially build up my income even higher than before. And the gym is going to benefit. If the trainers make more income, the gym makes more revenue overall. And they get, ideally, at the end of the day, less gym member churn, less trainer churn, and then they have to spend less money on resources continually hiring new trainers. So that's the holy grail that these big box gym chains are very slowly moving towards over a
Right.
process that, 3, 5, for some, it's going to take 10 years. So I think it's important for personal training studio business owners to know that, because that's inevitable to me. And there's a really big strength that you have, is that you can offer different training services and you can move a million times faster to be able to implement and try things. So it's so hard to get something new implemented across 100 locations, for example. And you, in your business, if you wanted to add something new, you could do it tomorrow. Which is why when the pandemic started in 2020, you saw big box gym chains have no idea how to monetize like just video training. But every single personal training studio business owner, I did it in a week, right? There's no friction, like there's no hurdles to jump through. So when I look at, go ahead.
No, just one little thing, devil's advocate for a moment. And I know we're talking about the bigger chains for the most part. You give someone a program to do it themselves. How many are actually going to do it? So I challenge the notion that they're going to achieve their goals faster, because it's been my experience. And I've seen this so many times. Like, if a client says to me, "Oh, could you do me a plan? I'll do it by myself in my own time." I just look at them and say, "You won't do it."
Yeah.
And I'm really blunt about it, because it's just what I've seen. I've very rarely seen someone actually do it themselves. Especially, I should caveat that by saying, especially our type of training, because I don't know if you've ever have you ever had a workout with like Skylar or Bryce? You have. Oh, you at Rec, right? Did you have one there?
Yes. I've done it at Rec. I've actually visited Skylar's gym in Austin as well. So yes.
And you've had a workout there as well. Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you know what it feels like trained in this way, to this deep level of fatigue. I mean, the supervision is so much more valuable in this context, because you're really going places it's hard to go alone, right? And that's, I guess, what might separate our niche from some of the other sort of fitness businesses out there. And so with that said, when you give someone a program and say, hey, you're going to do single set to failure, maybe a few advanced techniques on these exercises, especially if they're not masochistic. And I know you're into training, Matt, so you're different, right? But a lot of people we work with, they are, frankly, I got some feedback from a client recently, and her feedback was, I hate coming in here. Like, I dread it. And then she said, but I feel amazing afterwards. And she's a great client, and she's doing great. And I suspect she'll do this for the long term. But I just thought that was very revealing of a lot of certain types of people. So I'm just doubtful about that. That's all.
No. So I think that's a perfect transition. And the one thing I'll say on hybrid personal training, and I think these larger businesses and trainers will have to figure out, is that you have to learn only a certain type of client should be able to earn the opportunity to be able to do it, right? If I'm a personal trainer, so if I'm a personal trainer and I know that if I give you a workout program, you're not going to do it, or you prove that to me, that I'm just going to lose you, right? Yes. So, either way is like, then you have to make the decision, hey, if we do this and you've proven that it doesn't work, do you want to continue to waste my money and time, your money and time? This isn't like, I'm going to keep that that client as a one-on-one client, versus some clients have a little bit more motivation. Maybe they fall in love with they're working out after 3 to 6 months. They're really getting into it. They've learned, they have the ability to learn, and they built up their confidence. That's a very real outcome as well. And I've seen lots of clients, work with the trainer for 3 to 6 months and then go out and they just do stuff on their own. So that's probably the right avatar for what I'm trying to say with hybrid training for big box gym chains. I want to be able to retain that client as a personal trainer instead of just letting you go off and I've lost that revenue potential forever. So you're right. But what you were leading into with personal training studios in your type of business, I think you're 100% right. When I talk about what are the opportunities for scale for your business, hybrid personal training is rarely a great fit for the businesses that, like you or Discover Strength or, what Skylar are running, because, just like you were saying, they're coming in for a very specific purpose. It's niche. They're coming in to maximize their time, get the best possible strength training workout within 30 to 60 minutes, typically 30, closer to 30, maybe 2 times a week. and then I'm done. And then I can just live my life and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. So for the business model for personal training studios, opportunities to make it a little bit more sustainable, I think at a starting point, you're already in a much better position to be able to onboard a personal trainer, pay them a higher salary, and retain them, because it's a very positive environment and has a path for them to be able to make a sustainable career. The only opportunity for scale that we've seen is adding that semi-private training, adding 2 to 3 to some customers we work with do up to 5 clients at a time for semi-private. And that's a huge opportunity that these businesses like yours have, compared to the big box gym chains, which don't have the floor space or the training model to be able to do semi-private training. So obviously we all know the benefits of semi-private training. Instead of working with one client, you're working with a few. Maybe it's a lower price point for them, but you're you're increasing the revenue potential of that time slot. So, and that's something where when you just kind of think high level, obviously it makes sense you're really kind of focused in your business. But if you think about why, it's so rare that, you can offer semi-private training, why it's such an advantage of your business model by default, right from the start, compared to like an online personal trainer, compared to who can't meet with a trainer client in person, or compared to a big box who can't even offer semi-private right from the start. It's a very unique value proposition that you have. So.
Yeah, love it. So should we get into some of the solutions here to creating more sustainable personal trainer careers? And we've talked about how you alleviate burnout, how you provide these additional business models, which you literally just explained, how you might change compensation structure and how that's done. And I've got a few other bits here from a great article you wrote, and I'll just reference that quickly for people that want to read this article that really complements this episode. It's called How to Set Up New Personal Trainer Hires for Success. And that's over at the blog on strengthportal.com. I've got that right, haven't I? So so we'll link that up in the show notes as well. Also, there's a podcast I did with Luke Carlson, episode 347, called The Role of Fitness Professionals in Public Health, a Review of the Literature. This was a really cool podcast where we actually went and looked at a study about, well, I just said the title there, but what is the role of fitness professionals in terms of public health? Like what's their how are they perceived by like the medical professionals, and what are the problems and the regulations and the politics and all this stuff? So if you really want to get into that, you can listen to that episode. And there's a lot of good stuff there too in terms of how you create a successful, sustainable career for a personal trainer. And obviously Luke's on that one with me. So that's also a great reference. So going on from there is the next step to talk about, one of the big steps for, a fitness business to create a great, sustainable career for a trainer is this content curation for trainers. Is that our next, is that all right if we go foray into that?
Yeah, I think so.
Forgive me if I'm skipping over, if there's anything you want to go into.
No. 100% is I think breaking this all down, the single most impactful thing you can do is focus on those business models and that we just discussed. Is like, okay, what's my opportunity to scale? But beyond that, when you're talking about onboarding new trainers, and kind of the main point of this is like, making sure that you're setting them up for success, as you just were discussing. So with our platform and what we've seen that has really worked for teams to have be able to hire and have long-term employees or long-term team members, is it's an investment, and it's creating a system with their personal training business that they understand like the full journey from month 1 to month 6 to month 12, and what their income opportunities could be in a few years. Is that I've worked in a lot of different types of businesses, a lot of different industries and stuff like that. But very rarely, like right at the start, are you having someone sit down and tell you, hey, like here's from start to finish, here's what the path is going to be. So I already think that you actually kind of went into detail with Discover Strength. The example is like they have like all the different possibilities laid out for you. And that's something that obviously that takes time to kind of like really write out and think through and set up like everything in place. But I would imagine that, unless you're like a Discover Strength, 7 locations, most like maybe a single location personal training studio owners haven't done that full process probably yet, because you're just working on setting up your business, getting it sustainable for yourself. You're doing marketing, sales, etc. But I'm hearing this huge problem over and over the last like 2 years, especially about how hard it is to hire personal trainers. And I think about it, over and over. And to me, it's like, well, are you providing a clear path for them to be able to get to where they want to be, so they can actually have like a full-time career? Because if I'm, looking at my different options and I look at like a personal training business or a personal training career versus, another industry where they have a set salary or stuff like that, it's risky. So what you need to do as a business owner, to me, is you need to provide that path, and you need to show, here's how I'm de-risking each stage of the process for you to get you to where you want to be and where I want you to be as like a partner or like a long-term employee of my business. And I think that it's just a really good investment of your time, and it's probably more impactful going through that whole process of writing it out and creating getting all your systems in place to be able to match that, versus, like hiring over and over and after 6 to 12 months, like, wow, I've gone through 5 personal trainers and they all churned after 3 months. And I just can't, it's like, there's not good personal trainers out there. Well, maybe it's, it's a byproduct of,
you're the common denominator.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
exactly.
So what we're getting at here is a core growth plan, right? For a trainer. And this is absolutely key. It's, I'm actually in the process of, that's one of my rocks for this quarter, is to create our core growth plan. So it's funny because one of our team members, I'm giving him assignments, complete a HIIT uni course, read Body by Science, complete these different projects. And I always say, rest assured, this will be part of the criteria to move up to the next level. But until he can see it, until you can see, right, I'm this tier, to get to this tier, what do I need to actually accomplish? Which is going to mean, more compensation or more responsibility or whatever, more opportunity. It's just not the same. So that's why I know this is something I absolutely have to do. And I've got it, a board staring at me right now. It says rock number 1 core growth plan to be presented to team. So that's what I got to get done before the 2nd of October this year. And so you're absolutely right. Discover Strength, where I first heard about this, right? They do this so well. And I actually put a download on this post for this podcast, where if you're into your email, you'll be able to download a document from Discover Strength where it's a slideshow. If you go into the slides, there's a couple of slides for their core growth plan, and they're very generous in terms of illustrating exactly what their tiers are and what requirements they have. So it's like a really cool triangle, and there's like tier 1 up to tier 4, and and like tier 1 is like, earning 40 to 55K, and you have to do this many sessions, and you have to read you have to read these books and do this course and earn this certification. And then once you've done all that, then you move up to tier 2 and you're earning 55, 60K, and you're doing this many sessions. And then if you want to move up to the next tier, you have to read this book, take this certification. So it's really clear what you have to do in order to advance through the business and increase your compensation. And it's just genius. So I'll put a little download on the blog post for this so people can actually visualize that. But then don't copy it. You've got to take the concept, be inspired by it, take the idea, and then create something that is congruent with, your values and your brand, and make sense to your business. And like you said, you've got to obviously do the numbers and figure out, other tiers and the compensation and such sustainable within your business as well. So, yeah.
No, and I think that's really why your podcast, like the community that you're building, like all these personal training studio owners, like continually having conversations about what they're doing with their business is really so important. And that's where, talking about the podcast overall is like, this is where my kind of expertise stops. And I'd be like, hey, like, you guys are the experts. You guys are going to be the ones to figure this out. All I can really do here is try to provide a software that, is a value add to your business.
Like an enabler.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, hey, like, maybe I have a few insights about what other businesses are doing across the industry that help you figure out how to fully maximize the value that you have as a business. So, and I love what you just shared, because I think there's so many valuable lessons to take with it from just like the community that you've built up. So
it's such a counterintuitive thing to do, though, because let's be honest, as a business owner, you know, your kind of default mode is, yeah, right, so we're going to keep clients happy. The trainer's being paid appropriately. They should be fine. And now I'm just going to go and get a load more clients, and I'm not going to spend time creating a core growth plan for it. Like, I get why there's probably a resistance to that type of activity, but, you know, I don't know if I like this analogy, because I don't know if it's very nice, but I don't know if you know about the goose and the golden egg story. I can't remember the story, but anyway, this is what's the story? I can't remember. Geese are laying eggs. They're laying golden eggs. No, I'm not even gonna do it justice. This is one of Luke's presentations. I think he called it the goose and the golden egg. And the whole point of presentation is you are looking after the trainer, providing a great working environment, experience, career opportunity for a trainer, such that they continue laying golden eggs, continue to produce revenue for the business. And I watched this, and I think I might have been at Rec when Luke presented it, and I was like, I want a job at Discover Strength. I want to come work for you guys. And I've said to Luke on multiple occasions, if I was in a different situation and I grew up in Minnesota, I would very happily have work for him and as a personal trainer and learn the ropes and been exposed to that whole system. So if you're a DS trainer listening to this, you're in a really fortuitous position for sure. So yeah, it's just to wrap that one up, it's just to say that it doesn't come natural to focus on these things, but it is critical to retaining great trainers and motivating your team and ultimately growing your business. It's huge. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I agree. And there's so many advantages that personal training studio business owners have, as we just detailed, that you may not even know. And those are kind of hopefully the insights I was sharing, or can be part of the stories that you'll tell to your personal trainers. Like, hey, if you start to work with a business like yours right from the start, is like, wow, you don't even know like how good you might have it.
Yeah.
It's like, like this is compared to the other paths that people can enter in this industry, is you truly have the opportunity to set these new hires up for long-term success. So let's maximize that.
That's it. So just going on from what you were saying there in terms of better onboarding, right? That was the leading point there. The next note I made based on your article is, again, this is a link to having a good training education library and knowledge base, which something like Strength Portal enables really well. But obviously, you could do this in a variety of ways, right? You could have, on the cheaper end, you could have a Google Drive, and you could have a selection of YouTube videos or something like that. It's a bit crude and whatever. But if you don't have anything here, if you don't curate, what are they going to do? They're just going to go on Instagram and find some fitness influencer who has no idea what they're doing and just start copying their exercises. And you have a massive amount of inconsistency and low quality in terms of workout programming and delivery of workout. And that's what you want to avoid. So the next step here was easier marketing, because you were saying how the service is improved through the consistency, through the higher quality, and then the overall reputation of the business is that much better, right?
Yeah, no, and that's 100% like where we focus on building value for our platform, is making it easy to have a personal training system. So within Strength Portal, you can have, your standardized exercise library where you have, here's the exercises, here's the terminology that we use for these exercises, here's how we coach them step by step. You can add all those details. You can have workout program templates. So the main reason for that, as you were implying, is that if I'm a new personal trainer, I come to your business, and day one, I have a software where I go in and has all the exercises that we do, tells me exactly how to perform them. And I have a workout program template that I can assign to a client and just kind of follow a system that helps set me up for success. So I'm adding value to my clients for day one. That's, reducing the complexity for them to quickly add value and helping build their competence and experience level much quicker. So, it's that's where we put a lot of our effort into, is just trying to make it easy to add that content, to be able to have a full training team working together and doing a consistent training service that's going to continue to deliver value and set you up for success with your business, and also for your members to actually get the results that they want. So,
yeah. It must be so. I mean, I know from, we have some crude systems related to this, and obviously, as you know, we'll be moving to Strength Portal at some point. But I have a process for workout design, but I don't, and I have an exercise menu, but it's horrendous, and there's not very good references there. So there is a little bit of a lack of curation, and we've noted there's a little bit of inconsistency. Now, thankfully, this is a bit of a digression, but my trainer is very au fait with our particular training philosophy anyway. So when he does something that I perhaps wouldn't do, or I would feel is slightly more risky, it's still like, better than like 99% of the industry, in my opinion, right? So I'm very fortunate. We're very fortunate to be in that situation, but that's obviously not the case with a lot of businesses out there who don't have trainers who come from that type of background. We have a trainer who, like one of like 4 guys in Ireland who knows high intensity strength training. It's unbelievably like, obviously it helped my podcast help with some of that and building that relationship before we needed it and stuff. So yeah, he's been great. So you talked about the advantages of Strength Portal in terms of the standardized exercise library and all the rest of it. And I should say here, if people want a demo of Strength Portal, they should check out our first podcast where Matt did an amazing demo. He shared his screen, actually showed the software, showed how it all works, went through the exercise library, how you create programs, all of that stuff. So I will link to that in the podcast blog post for this one. So just a reminder, this is episode 375. Just aware of time, so let's just try and crack on. And what's next, do you think, in terms of things that businesses need to do to alleviate this problem we've been talking about?
I think we covered the most important things. Yeah, to me, it's like, I always say from one of my favorite strength coaches, Dan John, is keep the goal the goal. And so, you don't need to continue to add in more things. Let's focus on the most important thing here, which is the business models and onboarding, and maybe the rest will take care of itself,
Yeah, I mean, these definitely, I'd say like the 80-20, right? What we talked about today, like they're the big levers that are going to help you hire. This is the other thing as well, is you can talk about this stuff during the hiring process, and then your opportunity to convert high quality people in the interview stage is going to be so much better. Oh, hey, yeah, we've got a 10-year core growth plan. Oh yeah, hey, we have a system called Strength Portal where all of the content that you need to learn or to deliver workouts is all curated and consistent and standardized. Oh yeah, and it's really easy to create workouts. Oh yeah, and if you want to send this progress report to this customer, you can literally spin it up in like 5 minutes and send it to them. There's no, which we currently do, which is using Google Sheets to create bar graphs, and it's a pain.
One little note on that is we're about to release our standardized, we're calling it benchmark programs and reports. And so essentially it's going to take the process of like making that customized report down to a minute. So you have a standard report awesome. That you'll be able to spit out. So we're releasing that this next month with a few pilot customers, and super excited about it. So
awesome. Good for you. That's so cool. And then just to bring it all home, I think, as you can tell, I'm really passionate about this idea of being the craftsman. Right. And I mean that in all walks of life. I mean that when I'm doing this podcast, I'm thinking, how can I just eliminate everything that's extraneous and just become good at this podcast or whatever services, the membership we have behind this, when I'm thinking about the personal training business, I'm thinking about the same thing. And I'm thinking about it for everyone who has a role, is like, how can they just be totally focused on their unique ability, is the buzzword, isn't it, in this context, and just be great at that. And I think everything we've talked about today is really enabling the trainer to really focus on perfecting or mastering the craft, right? It's eliminating all that stuff that gets in the way of that. And that's going to ultimately result in more satisfying careers with longevity for trainers. So there you have it. Matt, thank you so much. Again, this has been a great conversation. Hopefully I haven't monopolized it too much. Do you want to just quickly, hopefully I've complimented it. could you just quickly let us know best place to find out more about Strength Portal and yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. You can always reach out to connect strengthportal.com. We're happy to hop on the phone, do a demo, do a call, just learn about your business, see if we're a good fit at any point. So that'd be the best place.
Yeah, awesome. And for everyone listening, to find the blog post for this episode, please go to highintensitybusiness.com and search for episode 375. And until next time, thank you very much for listening. This episode is brought to you by ARX. You want to be a successful strength training studio owner. The problem is you aren't able to deliver the safest, most efficient and effective workouts, making it harder for you to attract and retain clients, which makes you feel frustrated. I understand that it can be difficult to differentiate your business without the right tools. ARX's breakthrough adaptive resistance technology uses patented motorized resistance and computer software to give you and your clients the perfect workout every single time. BioFit founder John Zarbok says that ARX is clearly the superior tool to deliver the exercise stimulus. My clients are seeing insane improvements in weeks, not months. I could not fathom running my business without ARX. So here's how you get started. Number 1, go to arxfit.com/HIB to get $500 off your ARX machines. Number 2, book a call with the ARX sales team. And number 3, learn how ARX can help you grow your strength training business. Go to arxfit.com/HIB so you can stop struggling to attract and retain clients and start to grow your strength training business with confidence.